Welcome to episode 65 of Life on Life's Terms. It's your host, Justin, with Kenny.
Hello.
We're going to get into the topics of the jails are full of entrepreneurs. Why? What are the qualities of a self-starter lifestyle? And how do you know you are a self-starter? And can you become one if you're not? But before that, I'd like to do a shout out to our sponsors. One is Ono Poke is a chef-driven, fast casual restaurant serving Hawaii's signature dishes. The menu features chef-curated poke bowls. Customers can select various bases for the bowls, including furicake rice, quinoa, and spring mixed salad, along with vegetables, seasonings, and protein options such as the torched miso salmon poke or the albacore tuna and the spicy Thai salmon poke. Or you can build your own bowl. One in Hawaiian means delicious, and that is just absolutely fitting for them. Our second sponsor is Modern Gravity is the best place to relax with the spacious float tanks. If you have not floated, you got to try this. February is always a stressful month. For only $39.99, you can enjoy a float a month and let it all go. Go to Modern Gravity's website at www.moderngravity.ca, and that's one word for Modern Gravity.
Ono Poke is pretty good, eh?
It is really good.
Yo, when I went there one time without you,
Yeah.
it was like the gathering of Edmonton's best looking people. I swear, there was only like 10 people or something in there,
Yeah.
but they were all like beautiful. I felt like I was in Montreal.
I think, so March we have, what's that called? Diet and Nutrition.
Yes.
Their chef is coming in.
Oh, cool.
Because they are one of the healthiest choices that you can get in the fast casual restaurant world. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, we're starting to see a shift. So we're starting to see a shift. People are going from places like McDonald's and Walmart to restaurants like Ono Poke. You know what I mean? So yeah,
And organic stores.
yeah. So we're starting to see a huge shift. Even
Well, it's the same price pretty much.
well,
You know what I mean?
McDonald's actually says they're going to be out of business in about 10 years. That's and speculators. So
They
speculators
paid too much in rent. That's why.
speculators are like short sellers in the market, like in the stock market, and they suggest it's going to be a cliff. So right now, McDonald's sales are going up, like they're to the right and up, right? But it's just like anything. It usually just drops off like a fucking cliff. You know what I mean? And that's what speculators are saying. Like, buy into McDonald's right now on the short because it's way cheaper than buying in on the actual stock.
Yeah.
But do your own research. I mean, I'm not giving you any professional advice at this moment. Just do your own research, and you might get into that. So let's talk about entrepreneurs in jail. Why are the jails full of entrepreneurs?
Rap music.
Really? You think Jay-Z's all that, and you just like put everybody in jail? You ratted everybody out and said "fuck y'all."
Well, no, like that. There is some truth to that, and I'm sure other people can attest to it.
That he
But,
ratted everybody out.
No,
Yeah,
no,
there is.
no.
I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
I'm not talking about that. About the rap music, right? And like the one thing that rap music is full of is ambition. You know, these guys are out there hustling and getting their own, and they want to be self-made. And if somebody's programming that all the time, you know, they're going to be out there getting their own too, whether it's legitimately or illegitimately. They're trying to get their own.
Yeah. I think that there can be with what you've said. So there's this episode from Sopranos that really rings true in my mind. So I'll set up the site, so to say.
Yeah.
AJ was going to go shoot Tony Soprano's uncle because he tried to shoot his dad. So AJ was going to try to get through the mental ward that Junior Soprano was in order to basically stab him. And gets arrested or whatever, and Tony basically bails him out. And then Tony grabs him as they're walking towards the vehicle, and he's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" is what Tony basically says to AJ. And AJ says, You're the one who always talks about this honor bullshit. You're the one who always says that these people should never come after you and all this stuff. And he's like, whenever we watch the fucking Godfather, you're always happy that Michael took the vengeance of his dad. And Tony looked at him and said, that's a fucking movie, AJ. It's a fucking movie. And what I'm starting to see, I guess this is I'm taking the long way to get there.
Yeah.
What I'm getting at is you look at the generation above us, they didn't find any reality in music, and they didn't look for any contributing factor from a movie. They didn't do that.
Well,
I,
John Wayne syndrome. I think the generation.
Sure, there's definitely a touch of that.
Yeah.
But I think that's masculinity in general,
yeah.
really, right? Definitely, that's just masculinity in general, I think. But I think what I'm getting at with our generation is we were raised by the TV more so than the generation before us. So we almost have or try to find a personal touch. Like how many people have you talked to? I'll use this as an example too, where they can almost emphasize with a character in 90210 Melrose Place. I know I'm dating myself, or
you're older than me, man. I didn't watch that shit.
or Young and the Restless, or whatever it may be. My point is
Friends.
Yeah. No matter what it is, we try to identify ourselves with that character.
Yeah.
So what do you think the character writer is doing? The character writer is trying to look for. They're almost a sociologist.
Yeah, and they're matching up like common emotions and thought patterns and stuff that we can relate to, so we actually like connect with that character. Hey, I'm just like that. I'm gonna go be like Joe Pesci and stab that guy in the throat with a pen.
So then why is it that it becomes our identity?
Because what we put into our subconscious mind, whether it's real or not real, our subconscious mind takes it as the truth. It becomes rooted in as a belief system, because all a belief system is a thought that one thinks over and over and over. And if you watch a movie like more than 5 times, you start programming that shit in, it becomes part of you. You identify it whether you're conscious of it or not.
So I'm going to validate a little bit about what you're saying, because I won't go all the way there.
Okay.
But I'm going to ask, I'll put it to this. So what do you know about hypnosis?
I know that when you're in hypnosis, you're in a theta state, and that's when you're more impressionable.
Sure.
And that's where like kids from age 1 to 7 are the most impressionable.
That's right.
Is they're in this theta state, which is almost a state of hypnosis all the time. That's probably why they're running around giggling, and they can imagine shit and
that's right.
more easy.
That's right. So when you're an adult and a hypnosis tries to make you do something, you'll hear people say, well, they're trying to make me do something that I didn't want to do. You can call bullshit on them right then and there, because nobody in the hypnotic state will ever do anything that they would not do in the first place. Hands down. So when you see a hypnosis to quit smoking, they haven't done anything for you. They've used your acknowledgement that you need to quit smoking, and they've retrained your subconscious. Okay?
Yeah.
And you're entirely right about the ages between 1 and 7. That's why we're so impressionable.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, also, when we look at a TV and the hum of the TV, you know what the hum of the TV, what decibel that is? That's at the decibel in order, like you'll hear people say this where they say, I sleep better with the TV on. Well, why do you think that is? Or you get tired when the TV is on automatically. Well, the reasoning for that is because of the hum of that
electronic device.
Well, of the entire mechanism that's happening.
Yeah.
Then it's not even, and now you look at flat screen TVs and it's like, well, they don't really have a hum anymore. Well, they do in the lights. The lighting, even your computer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you take away your computer after 6 o'clock at night, you're going to find that you will be more naturally tired by 9:30 at night. And the reason for it is because it's not a fake UV light in your face.
Yeah, blue lighting.
Right. But when you listen to the back tone, and you and I edit audio, obviously, right? So there's a back tone to everything. Sometimes you can hear the wisp in our podcast, and sometimes you can't. Well, the reasoning for that is that wisp can actually take you out of that hypnotic state, right? So when it's there, if it gets disrupted a little bit, you're like, I don't really like this. Well, is it that you don't like what they're saying, or is it because it's the hypnotic state of you listening, the rhythmatic way that you were listening? Is it has it been disrupted in some sort of capacity, right? So
I heard that before too on the movie What the Bleep. One of the scientists on there said that like when you're studying, always have a blue light in the room because it helps you learn better.
It can. It depends on that itself is very subjective to an independent person. It's one of those things where like this may work for you, but it may not work for somebody else. It's not carte blanche. It's not globally correct. One thing though that will definitely back everything up that I'm saying is when we were kids, we would watch cartoons.
Yeah,
and
all the time.
And what was the background music to those old cartoons? It was the old symphonies or the ballets and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, why do you think that was? Because that's been hypnotizing people since the 1700s. Right?
Yeah.
What is a good musician? A musician is actually a guy who can put you in a hypnotic state to allow for endorphins to be released by certain musical notes. Did you know that if you listen to certain classical music, you can actually have an orgasmic feeling in your brain without releasing any semen out of you? That can actually happen, right? So what is that architect of music doing? What they're doing is they're putting you into a hypnotic state while using tones and accents.
Yeah, through vibration.
And notes, but also the sound.
Well,
sure, the sound is a vibration.
Is a vibration.
Yeah,
and everything is sound.
Granted, but the mind is looking at it as in the accent that's filtered through the ears, right? And it's not so much the body that's being taken, because the piece that's happening is your mind is the thing that has been bought. That's what the music, the tone, the vibration, the note, all of those things, the mind is what's been bought, right?
Yeah, and then this little cartoon characters running around and beating other cartoon characters with giant sledgehammers and blowing them up with bombs and then choking them, and then they wonder why we have a society that has violence in it.
Well, and I mean, back to the original point of why is there so many entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs in jail, it's one of these things where this was the premise I was going on, is that they were, or my thought about it was that there's more depravity in the business models that they're looking at as opposed to a contribution. They're depriving society of something for their own gains as opposed to contributing to society in order to gainfully have abundance with society.
Booyah.
And that's the fundamental shift that needs to happen from entrepreneur in jail to entrepreneur in real life.
Yeah. Instead of taking for yourself, focus on giving, because in giving you will receive.
Well, and I think that's difficult when you come from squalors.
When you come from jack shit.
That's right. Because you feel owed. There's a piece to you that's owed, right? We'll get into a little bit of that later on.
And a lot of you're willing to cut the next guy's throat to get it, because through the medium of television with the programming, it's all about competition. You want to be better than the next guy. You don't want to look insecure, or you don't want to be insecure because of the way you look.
So kind of funny, I talked about the competitor in the blog that came out yesterday.
Yeah. And
I felt in the episode that came out yesterday, I had portrayed the competitor as only somebody that you can win against. Like the opponent is an external. And in the blog, what I did was I redefined that, or I broadened that, saying that the opponent is actually your internal. Your internal. You are the hardest person to sell on any idea.
Yeah.
Because I'll put it to you this way. If you're the guy who's always bought in to the next big thing, you're fucked. You're not being subjective enough.
No, you're going off more emotions.
You're being bought. You're not being rational.
You're being reactive.
That's right. That's right. You and I experienced that when we went to...
I fucking experience that shit every day, man.
But remember, we went... It was very predominant. We went to like some entrepreneurs thing where they were... It was basically a bull's pen where they were selling us a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
Franchises. They wanted us to buy into franchises. Yeah. And we're not going to say who the guy is, because I don't think I really want to plug him at all. But this guy, there's two emotions you got to watch: the pragmatism of somebody and the fucking greed. And if somebody's a greedy investor, they will attract other greedy investors. And the hardest investor to ever get on your side is the pragmatic investor. The guy who
calculates everything before they do it.
That's right. And they're cautious. It's always the cautious person, right? The greedy person is the guy coming out of jail. The cautious person is the guy who came from the same neighborhood, but he worked really, really hard to get his first $500, and he's not going to just give it to any fucking schmucko.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the difference almost in that mentality. Okay? So when we were there, I don't know if you remember this, but this guy was just fucking harping about how he had assessed his own
product
business.
Was going to make $25 million.
Yeah, and it was just crazy. But he bought you in the first 5 seconds of the greed.
Yeah.
You know, looking at these mass gains.
Yeah.
Well, and then when you realize that's my weakness, he saw it, and then he fucking played it, right? And then when you and I stood back and we talked about the actual game plan of what was going on, I saw the light bulbs in your eyes just light up like that fucking guy. That fucking guy, he had me in the moment. You know, but the point is, and this, if you're new to business, this is my biggest tip. Don't ever go in there like you're a solo and you're a motherfucking hero of the day and you're gonna. That's not nobody who's successful ever did that.
No, always play the duck.
You always, sure, you always play the duck, or I call it the Immigrant Song.
Yeah.
Because the Immigrant Song.
Well, you don't want to say that nowadays with those new laws.
Well, it's a song anyways, and all it becomes is this: if somebody's saying, "Are you willing to sign the dotted line?" You say, "My partners and I have to talk about this before I do anything." And you will always notice that cooler heads will prevail, because if somebody's trying to get you to sign a deal right then and there, and it's not based on a feeling, there's no pragmatism in it. There's no pragmatism in your decision at all. That person is not there to help you. They're there to sell you. They're a snake oil salesman. Sometimes 1 in a million happens and an opportunity comes by that's a once in a lifetime shot. And that can happen. But it's very, very rare. And if you are one of those people, consider yourself lucky, because it doesn't happen very often. I have only found it a couple times in stocks, and it was only because it was literally dumb luck walking around, and it was like, this thing is probably going to make me some cash.
I don't know. Like I think me and you, like, doing this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Well, I guess I could have went and started my own, but I never would have had the skill. But if I said no to join on the podcast at the beginning, you'd have just found some other guy.
Well, probably. And sure, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity in that capacity. What I'm getting at is buying into something that's not a self-starter, right? And this is a nice segue into what are the qualities, like what is it that you and I have bought into to be self-starters? What's the biggest thing that hits your mind about being a self-starter?
Balls.
How do you mean?
Like willing to take a risk.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you calculate it, you see your opportunity, you calculate the risks, or you calculate like what you have to do, all in, balls to the wall, you put in 100% effort and you give her commitment. I think one of the things that I like the most is I work harder. I will always work harder for myself than anybody else. Yeah, absolutely.
I learned early in my survey career, I used to be a company man, and very, very quickly recognized I didn't want to be a company man. Yeah. Because they were making whatever they were making, especially when you find out, like when I was out in the field beginning my career, I was making like $23 an hour, and they're billing me at $275 an hour. Well, I'm seeing $23 fucking dollars of that, or $25 or whatever an hour. So where's the rest of that money going? Yeah. And they say, well, there's the truck, and then there's the fuel, and then there's the equipment. I'm like, well, we're not buying fucking equipment every day.
Then there's somebody else's pockets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, so why am I working like a monkey over here? For what? Right?
Because
like
you're a cog in a wheel, man.
And that's exactly how it felt. So why is it that these guys in jail would rather be self-starters in the drug game? And this is the killer. This is the killer that blows my mind away. You and I both know those drug dealers who are successful, never clicked up. They never got involved with a gang. They became successful.
They never went out and partied.
They have the $200,000-$300,000 of drug money, and that was their payout.
Startup money.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We know those guys, right?
Yeah, there's a few of them.
And there's literally a few of them. Well, how many guys do you think in this self-starter world are like Warren Buffett? Not many.
No, 1 in a trillion.
You know how many are actually self-starters though and have like $70,000 or $80,000 income every year? Lots.
Yeah, there's lots.
There's lots of those guys. But the point is this is the trade-off. I could make 70, 80 grand working for Stantec, but the difference is I'm slagging away for some fucking dick out there. Like some fucking prick that I'm slagging away. I don't get to start my own hours. I don't get to work when I want to work. I don't get to do what I want to do, and I don't get to do what I have the passion for. If it means that I get 80 grand a year, and that's a comfortable living, and I get to do what I want to do, or I do what I like to do, and I'm passionate about it, and I'm pretty good at it because I just like learning about it due to the fact of, or the consequence of being passionate or actually liking it, it's good enough for me, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice to if so be it, it's an $80,000 month or whatever. I mean, and I'm not saying that I haven't had that. All I'm saying is that you have to look at what is really the value. Is the value the money, or is the value the activity? And in my opinion, it's the activity. It's not the money so much.
Yeah, and like even look like it's about like independence and like the not feeling of being owned. You know what I mean? Not having that feeling of being owned. Because whenever I was working for somebody else, I literally contemplated suicide. Like, is this really what life is all made up to be? And like it fed it. Like at those times, I didn't have proper coping mechanisms and like tools in my toolbox to handle and deal with like stress or emotional distress. And at those times, like lots of times, that's why I would go out and sell drugs, is because I just could not handle twisting a wrench or doing physical labor, hurting my body, something that I have to like cherish and love and take care of for somebody else's dollar. And what do I get out? Even if I fucking at work, if I hurt myself really bad and I'm fuck my back up, I can't work anymore. What am I going to be? What's my quality of life going to be for the rest of my life? Mm-hmm. You know, even if I was out there selling drugs, it was a chance in the dark that I could actually be one of those self-startup guys if I had the discipline enough. And when I didn't, and the jails are full of them, ended up in jail. You're sitting there with a whole bunch of convicts, and all you're doing is trying to come up with more entrepreneurial ideas to fucking get out there and do it again, because you'd rather take the risk than fucking slave away for some schmucket.
Yeah, I think that's the main quality that's necessary in order to be a self-starter. I mean, if you don't, I mean, what does my day look like? And this is just. This is like, it doesn't matter if it's a Saturday, and it doesn't matter if it's a Monday. Every day to me is a Monday, because every Monday is a Friday. Yeah. That's the way how I see it.
I don't get Friday syndrome.
And so my day typically starts around 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. I usually end up driving somebody to their bullshit 9-to-5 job or whatever, but it's their passion to be doing what they're doing. So that's great for them. I usually come back, I write a little bit either for the blog, or I write a little bit for the book that I'm writing. Then I hit the gym by 9 o'clock. I'm out of there by 10:30 if I have to shower. If it's a day that I can't come back to the office or the studio, then I'm out for the day with my laptop, going from meeting to meeting. And then if there's anything that I have to do for the podcast or blogging in the middle of the day because I haven't gotten it done before I went to the gym, I sit in a cafe and I get that done, all the while waiting for my next appointments to pop up. Yeah. And then it becomes the onslaught of one not-for-profit, the next not-for-profit, the next financial client that I might be dealing with, and then the next sponsor, the next whatever, right? As well as tugging along those junior entrepreneurs, those young kids that we have kicking around. I want to call them the farm. That's basically what I call them. You know, those
We're
kids.
harvesting.
Yeah, those kids are the farm, right?
Yeah.
And so those kids are always hanging around, and we'll probably get utilizing them more come spring and summer here on the show. So that's the day. And then at the end of the day, it's a journal entry of how to make sure that I know how I loved and cared about myself throughout that day, find out what I can do better tomorrow. And then that's the goal. That's the next goal set for tomorrow, right? And that's from beginning to end. I may be underappreciating exactly what I'm doing from minute to minute, but it doesn't stop. It's 5:30 to 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm in bed and I'm back up by 20 after 5 usually every morning. And most people have their emails from me by 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it's all started. And the reason why I do that is because some of the people that I talk to are in the East Coast. Well, if I want to meet them or be on the phone with them for 9, 10 o'clock, I have to be up at 7 or 8. They're 2 hours ahead of me, right? Like, and a lot of the business world is in Toronto, Ontario, for us Canadians, right? It's nice if I have shit going on in Vancouver, but I don't generally, because Vancouver's like an hour behind us, so I don't have to worry about that so much. But the prioritizing of who, where, what I'm doing is happening all day long. And if you're not intrigued by that, you're best off to
Get a job.
You
already have one.
Go twist wrenches or do whatever you got to do.
Do what you love.
We need those people in this world too.
Yeah, we're not discrediting them at all, because that's a quality that that's still a quality that's going to provide stability for a family. You know what I mean? Like, if my stepdad, God bless him, if he wasn't such a fucking hard worker, I wouldn't have had the privileges I had growing up. But he works up at 4 a.m. every day, and the motherfucker, he's still doing it, and he's like 60 fucking 5 years old, 66 years old.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me back to a conversation I had with somebody today on the phone. Is they said, "How's your holidays?" And I said, "I didn't get any holidays." They said, "What do you mean? We didn't take any?" I said, "No." I said, "Every day is Friday for me."
Yeah.
Every day is Friday. So
I was still fucking doing my shit on Christmas Day.
Yeah, and I was like, and I said to them, I said, God willing, I'll still be working at 85 years old because I love this that much. This, not just this podcast, but the whole entire lifestyle behind what's going on in the background, such as the financial advising stuff, such as the not-for-profit stuff, learning how to make that anchor of financial stability so that you can go and be a philanthropist of some sort.
Yeah.
There needs to be a balance there. You can't expect, like I said, if you are going into the not-for-profit world to expect that you're going to have a salary for the rest of your life, you're going into the wrong field.
It's going to be a low salary.
Well, it'll be a low salary. And secondly, when your mission is done, are you going to expand your services or are you going to shutter her up? My opinion is shut it down so that the next person can come in and innovate. That's my own opinion. You don't want to be a monopolizing person in the not-for-profit sector.
No, it's douchey.
Well, it doesn't allow for innovation.
It's douchey.
And the people who need those not-for-profit services, it's like this. If there was a one-all-fits-all program out there, we would have it. That would be done. It would be a medicine, and it would be whatever it was going to be. But the fact of the matter is the not-for-profit world is a world based upon many different individual personalities, and because they're all individual personalities with their own character twists, this is why we need so many different programs. One program is never ever going to fit everybody. It's just impossible. That's an impossibility.
Well, as we evolve and society changes, there's going to be different needs that become open. It's like school systems are going to start changing. Well, they're going to need new curriculum. So where's the curriculum going to come from? You know what I mean? Like, as things change, as we evolve as human beings, it's going to open up different voids and cracks and issues and systematic problems.
I think one of the things that has been very underestimated, and if there's any time in history that I could ever contribute the time that we're in right now, it is the 1920s. The 1920s, when we were looking at the industrial complex and the industrialization of the entire world. There were so many. That's where the Rockefellers come from. You know, that's where they come from. They
were fucking rocking before then, man.
Not as much as they were when the industrialization came. And the other family too. There's another family too that came out of that era that we would have never ever seen had it not been the industrialization of the world. Exactly, right? So between then and now, we are now looking at the old guard trying to safeguard themselves with all of these new innovations that are coming out. And I'll tell you what, the biggest head turner I've always ever heard in the business or entrepreneurial world is this. We millennials took down the Bay and Sears. We bankrupted them. 100-year institutions, a generation bankrupted them by market value and buying power alone, because we decided that we would rather be with a guy named Jeff Bezos and Amazon yeah. or Alibaba out of South America than paying or going to see people in Sears. But the consequence of that is now people have so much social anxiety by living these hermit-style lifestyles that they don't know how to converse. So there's a trade-off, right?
That's why we got more mental health issues. We got more... you know what I mean? Like right now, it's harder for kids to connect because they're on their phones all the time. They don't know how to go out and make friends.
Now, this is not a one-off, though. If you look at the end of Rome was the same thing. Look at the days right before Rome fell apart. There was higher homosexuality within their society. There was also more gender dysphoria that was happening in their society. There was more left-right issues within the Senate of their politics. And this is really what made Rome crumble, right? We're in the same precipice as in the Western world. The Western world is in the same, we're this erratic thing. You know, one of the best things that I could ever tell anybody is to learn sociology like it's your back pocket survival book when looking at the markets. Because if you can always attribute the market as a person or a group of people, you will always be able to kind of understand the behavior of the market before it gets there, right? Because people consequently are only one of like 5 different things, and I'm not going to give you those things. You need to go do your own homework, okay? But they're consequently one of 5 different things. And because they're only one of 5 different things, it's easy to be a bit ahead of the curve because you're watching behaviors that aren't going to change. Well, the behaviors right now, when we look at the Western world, is just a spiraling. I always attribute it to an addict that's ready to hit their bottom. That's what it always reminds me of. It reminds me of the mea culpa. My life is so bad. I need all these pills in order to feel better, and keep me watching Netflix and whatever I'm watching in order to distract me from what it is. I mean,
15 million Americans, I just read this morning, are diagnosed with depression in the States, and that equates to 500 million worth of Prozac prescriptions.
Yes, but there's also, I would suggest that there's also an illicit trade of those medications. I was just talking with a drug and alcohol counselor a little while ago that spins off of this a little bit, but I said, isn't it interesting how before illicit drugs were like heroin and cocaine and methamphetamines, and now illicit drugs is like fucking clonazepam. You know, that's what we find in the illicit drug trade. Clonazepam and Zoloft and Percocets, and it's more pharmaceuticals now than it is like heroin and cocaine. Like at least, if I was going to say anything, at least the old drugs were organic to the world in some form, as opposed to the synthetic that we have from the pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
And then the biggest issue is is it all contributes to this mass society that needs to be out of itself, when reality, society is pretty good in the Western world. You know, the only reason, and Joe Rogan said this many, many of times, the only reason why you hate life is because you're going to some fucking bullshit thing that you don't want to do. Find your passion. And that is the game changer right there. And I said in the blog yesterday, if you want to find out your passion, I have exercises in that blog that you can do that will help you find that passion.
I got a good one right now. I can spit it out. Write your own eulogy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in the act of addiction, if I were to write my own eulogy, if I were to die then, it wouldn't be very good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People would have sly eyes. They'd be like, humming and hawing and fucking filling in some bullshit to make me not sound as shitty as I was.
Yeah.
But if you write your own eulogy how you want it to be, that's how you write it. Write your eulogy how you want it to be, and then you'll know the type of legacy you need to leave, and you'll know kind of the roundabout things that you got to accomplish in your life to leave that legacy, and then reverse engineer. Yeah. That is definitely one way. I prescribed a couple of other ways that I think also fits the bill. But yeah, I think that's the big deal is if you're going to work and you hate your life, you hate what's going on, it's time for a change, because the people that are around you are also feeling that as well, right? So back to qualities of self-starter lifestyle. I think one of the things that was the hardest for me to accept was that I still had to get up at 5. I don't get up at 5 right now. I guess it shows in how much money you make versus how much money I make.
Could be.
Not true. Like that's not completely like relevant, but we're still working and putting in effort, the same amount of hours, just at different hours. Well,
and I think one of the things that comes from being a self-starter is it takes time to learn how finances work when you're on your own. It's like this, right? If you're a mechanic and you're trying to sell your skills as a mechanic, well, you have a skill set. Okay, so as a self-starter, what's your skill set? That's the point, right?
I'm organized. I'm optimistic. I have ambition. I'm a go-getter. I'm a networker. I'm excellent building relationships. I understand emotional intelligence. I have soft skills. I don't know.
Sure, but what is it that you know? Those are skills, right? The skills in the sense of like that's what you are. Those are your skill set within your personality. I would suggest that what you know is you would probably know how to run an accounting book.
On a small scale.
Sure. That's good. That means that you can account for what's coming in and what's going out.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Can you stand and pitch? Probably.
Absolutely.
So if you can stand and pitch and you know what ins and outs are, well then now there's a start.
Yeah.
So what's something in your life that you feel is not just sellable, but something that you really admire? Well, this float stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All day long, you won't even have to pay me. All day long, I would tell you all day long that floating is one of the best things that you could ever do for your mental health and your physical health as well.
Yeah.
Right? All day long, that's what I would do. So if that's the case, well, then maybe I might want to go and talk to Modern Gravity and say, how would I become a franchisee? And then what I would do, because I like it so much, he gives me a cost and he says, this is what it would cost to buy it. So then you go and look for the next, you go and look for your next step, which is how much square footage you're going to need in order to create or construct this area of floating.
Yeah.
And you put all those together. You know the accounting principles already. You know what's going in. You know what's going out. So how much is it? What's your startup cost going to be? Then from there, you start networking. Because now you have your startup costs. You have a guy who's willing to sell you a franchise bit into his company, which means he's going to tell you where to get all that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to do the research anymore.
The business plan is already made.
The business plan is done, but you still have to come up with the startup money.
Yeah.
So now what you need to do is you got jack shit in your pocket. You got nothing. Absolutely nothing. Well, you go to the community league and you find out if you can, well, how much would a room be to rent, or a boardroom even out of a hotel room, like a hotel, right? And they tell you $80 for an hour or whatever it is. Then what you're going to do is you're going to start networking to see who are those people that have money.
How can I put them in this room?
I got to get them in this room so that I can fucking pitch all day long. And so then you all of a sudden make a phone call to your mom or to your dad or to your grandma and you say, can I get an early birthday present? I really need $80 I just need $80. You don't even have to tell them what it's for. I just need $80. Then you go to some Value Village and you buy some cheap suit that you're going to try to dress to impress, and you're going to go stand in that hotel room and you're going to pitch your little ass off to as many people that you know, and you're going to try to wiggle it so that people who only bring in a $50,000 to $60,000 income can become a group to buy. They can be your group backer, but you need to give them an out plan. Always remember this when you're talking to investors. You want to give them an out plan, and they want deliverables on their money. People will always be interested in 2 years of lending with a 15% capacity to earn back, which means you have 25 people in the room and it costs them $1 a piece in order to buy $25 into your company. And you say, at the end of this $25 in a couple of years, I'm going to give you 15% on top of that. Just cuts, and all of you are going to be sold out. So you're going to get $1.15 out of me. That's what each one of you are going to get. So you need to make sure that your market, that your margin and the time that's allowable to pay out will be the amount of time that you can pay out in your percentage, and the time is adequate. It's basically like setting up a goal. Remember, we talked about this yesterday. We talked about setting up goals so that you can practice your success. Believe in God, set up your goals that are achievable, not crazy things, right? Achievable goals so that you can practice your success. This comes back to the same thing. Don't sell your potential investors, right, into an idea that is something that 15% in 6 months. Well, you're fucking crazy. You're not going to make 15 cents extra on that dollar in 6 months. Give yourself some breathing room, but be adequate. Be honest. Yeah. Be real about it. Yeah. And I guarantee you go along that line in any vehicle that you're trying to sell, you're going to sell it. That's how you're going to sell it. Time and time and time and time again, that's how you're going to sell it. Being an entrepreneur is not about, or being a self-starter is not about, I got to find that one thing. No. You got to find the 15 things, because you're going to get shot down 14 times. And maybe the 15th time, you'll get it. As much as you believe in it.
I'd say the ratio is not even that much. You'll get turned down more than 15 out of 1.
It depends, but that's why I'm saying you need to look at that passion.
You just got to be ready to handle some rejection and keep going, because, when it does come, then you're golden.
And what did it cost you really? It cost you $80 to rent a room. Usually rooms aren't even $80. You know what I mean? And the beautiful thing about hotels is that they all have parking.
Yeah.
That's I've used them. I mean, I'm not saying that I've never used it, but that I've used them. And I think that's the other thing too. Like you look at the entrepreneurs in jail. You get those bosses, right? Those drug bosses. How many times do they get the runners? They'll take time out of their day to sit with a runner for their birthday or some bullshit, right? Why do you think they're doing that? They're making that runner, that bottom feeder, feel good. But really, that bottom feeder is his investor.
It's a disposable.
But it's also his investor at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a bottom top kind of enterprise, so to say, right? And you'll find that most people that you're selling to, they're like your runner in the same capacity. They would probably go and use a float. They'd probably do it. So instead of maybe 15%, you say, well, I'll give you floats till kingdom come.
Yeah.
Right? Kingdom come.
Yeah.
Right? Within reason.
Yeah.
Right? Within reason. If you want to buy all of it, there's 3 people, you want to buy all of it, I'll give you guys floats, kingdom come. I've got the place. I've got the overhead. This is all what it looks like. This is what it looks like in order to make money out of this business. And your investors are going to sit there and go, okay, this pitch was good. Because then you've aced it, right? How do you know that you're a self-starter?
I think it's that you can't handle working for somebody else.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. That you despise small shitty paychecks. That you don't want to sell the hours of your day. That what you do every day you feel is not contributing to the greater good of life.
See, I would suggest this. When I first started, I made less than minimum wage. For sure, I was making less than minimum wage. If you were to equate how many hours I was putting into learning financial advising and trying to sell at the same time and what I was bringing in, it was a joke. It was a joke. I was making far less than minimum wage. Now, that being said, it's not so much like that now, but you have to recognize that it's in perpetuity, which means you put your time in now and eventually it's going to come back to you. That's what it is. You're learning right now and it's coming, right? I almost agree with that same philosophy like a plumber who's just doing their apprenticeship. You make shitty money in the beginning, and then by the end of your 4 or 5 years, you're sucking in $115,000 a year. You know what I mean? Essentially, is what ends up happening. But I agree about the money. Yeah. You look at the money, and you're like, I'm selling my hour. I'm not selling my idea.
Well, like being a plumber, though, like you can justify that, and you're still providing a valuable service to
people.
Sure,
100%.
Right? So as long as you're providing value, it feels good.
And you could start a business out of that. I guess what I'm getting at is, I think the mindset is selling the hour or selling the idea, right? Most of us as entrepreneurs,
we're selling ideas.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're selling ideas, and then we have to go and see people who are lawyers, corporate lawyers, in order to tell us how to incorporate a business legally and make a legal entity out of it. Yeah. That's a big key. That's a big piece that we all have to kind of settle upon.
It's a learning curve. You got to learn new shit.
And to think that the money comes like toot sweat. It doesn't work like that, right? I would suggest how you know that you're a self-starter is one that you would work harder for yourself than anybody else. Because in my opinion, it's a disservice to go to your job that you hate and work like an asshole for some guy who's paying you a really good wage. I mean, I have people working for me. And when I see them coming to work and I'm like, you fucking hate your life and you don't want to be here, quit. I'll find somebody else.
Even when I worked for other people, I was still usually like the hardest worker. But I noticed that even though I was the hardest worker, like when I had to go and like hustle, I would go and hustle, like making a workout out of my day's work.
Yeah.
But I still fucked the dog lots.
Yeah.
Lots. And I was still the hardest worker.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think that's definitely how you know that you're a self-starter. Another one is you've tasted poverty. I really believe that that's a big part of being a self-starter. You've tasted some sort of struggle that other people just they couldn't equate to. They wouldn't be able to empathize with that kind of a struggle.
Oh, another one for being a self-starter or entrepreneur, commitment to lifelong learning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Everything ends up, you end up.
You can leverage your knowledge in every which way, shape, form. If you have a base knowledge of something that not everybody knows, then fuck, now you got a skill or something of value that you can sell, right?
Yeah, 100%. Or at least an assessment. It's a tool that you can assess that other people may not be able to see when you're trying to assess or speculate upon something, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the other thing too is guys who are coming from poverty. You and I had a discussion about what's the one thing you always want to look for in the market. And that's something that people need.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking like, well, we all need soap. Sure. But there's 1,000 soaps out there that you can choose from. But those people who need insulin, there's only one insulin out there that you need, and that's insulin. I want to be the owner of insulin, right? That's the 1 in a million That's the 1 in a million opportunity that's very difficult that you'll come by. But right now, in this, I would say almost revolutionary period, we're almost in a renaissance right now of a period. This is where you're going to find it. This is the time, and it's been like none other. When I was talking about the industrial complex, so on and so forth, and these people making their riches, this was the time that they had made their riches from. And the reason for it was because there's so much innovation. See, the big thing too that I'm a big proponent of is competition between companies. That's not amicable right now in order to make a capital.
No, because how do you compete? You lower prices.
Well, and sure, but
make
the
shittier products.
The other piece to that is there's a time for competition when the market is flustered with it. So right now, if you look at podcasting, there's a lot of podcasts out there, right? What is the one thing, though, that separates one podcast from another podcast? Consistency. Yeah. Again and again and again and again and again. I mean, our show came out just yesterday. Right away, we saw people downloading it, taking it. They've been waiting for it.
That's
you know
cool.
what I mean?
I appreciate all of you.
Yeah, I mean that's fantastic stuff, right? And so when you look at the podcasting world, even that in that capacity, we're all friendly with each other. There's a competition definitely to be in the top 10. You know,
I want to go on somebody else's podcast.
It'll happen.
Yeah, manifest it.
But I think that's one of the things. That's one of the things that you need to really concentrate on in a time of renaissance. Is it's not a time to be worried that somebody's going to beat you to the punch. That's not how it works. It's not about getting to the plate before the guy. It's about being in the team with the guy who's standing at the plate. You see what I'm saying? Like it's better to be the person who is the support mechanism with that person who's standing at the plate, because the likelihood of him hitting it out of the park is like what, 1 out of 3? Right? Really? That's the ratio, right? You get 3 pitches or however many pitches it is until it's finally a strike and then you're out.
Yeah.
Let him go, because you're going to learn just as much as him by watching him stand at that plate. So that when it's your turn to finally get up there, you know how that pitcher's pitching.
Yeah, you're keeping your eye on the ball.
Right? And it's not about being competitive and being negative towards what he's doing. It's about complimenting it. Because when you're the guy who finally hit that home run, he is going to be the guy who's got to get you to second. If you didn't make it to second, he's got to be the guy who might have to get you home if you didn't make it past third base. Right? That's why it's better to have your guys in the field where you're all friendly with each other instead of not even burning bridges, just saying, I'm not open to that.
Yeah, like you got to build your network and you got to surround yourself with people that you want to be like, you know, and if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, find some friends who have their own businesses, you know, and start out small. If they have a roofing company, if they have a framing company, if they have a kiosk in a mall, cool. Find out what they're doing, how much it costs them to start up, how much they enjoy it, stuff like that. Start hanging out with them, because when you start hanging around with these people, you're going to learn the entrepreneurial, it's like tricks of the trade, the secrets, you know, the legalities of it that you have to go see a lawyer for, and the shit that keeps you scared from actually starting that legitimate startup.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then just to wrap this up, can you become a self-starter?
I believe yes.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, we have colleges full of people in entrepreneurial programs, and you want to see how successful they are. None of them are. Most of them aren't. And if you want to look at anybody who's actually successful in business, most of them never even took business. Daryl Cates is a fine example. The guy's a lawyer. He's not a businessman. Sure, he's a corporate lawyer, but he's a lawyer. He didn't get no friggin' MBA.
Yeah.
That's not him. Warren Buffett, not a bit. Actually, he is a business guy, but not really.
Education.
No, he's got education. He's got education.
Oh, okay.
The guy's like a genius, right? But you look at Bill Gates. He didn't finish school, like at all. Look at Steve Jobs. They didn't finish school.
Bill Gates quit school after he read The Master Key System by Charles Handel.
And then you look at anybody. You look at anybody who's done really well in business. There's a very small portion. Dan Pena is not, I mean, he's a grad from officer school down in the States. That's it. He's not.
That guy was probably like MS-13, man.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. That guy was like, that guy killed,
I like him.
Apparently he said he killed a bear with his bare hands.
I bet you he did.
Could have.
Probably shoved his wad down the bear's throat. Just put his wad of cash and shoved it in the bear's
So I mean, there's definitely a lot of examples. I wouldn't say idols, but there's a lot of examples of people who've made it without coming from that business school. And so I guess what I'm getting at is, can you become a self-starter?
Yes.
I don't know if you don't have that, those qualities that we had talked about before. I don't know if you could really, like, if you're Daryl Cates' kids, you don't know what it is to struggle. And to be a self-starter in that capacity, your process is much different than people like you and I.
Yeah, but anything can happen to anybody. And even Daryl Cates' kids, say, per se, I don't even know if he has kids, but say Daryl Cates is dead, he leaves his family fortune to his kids. The kids grow up, they're spoiled rotten, they have zero work ethic, they're just, well, whatever. And then all of a sudden some tragedy happens, they lose everything. Bam, suffering starts. They need to create those skills to get back to where they were.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Look, you know who's a perfect example is Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth, never really worked a day in his life, and then all of a sudden becomes prime minister and literally has never, he has no idea. He was a substitute drama teacher before he was a prime minister. Okay?
Oh, that's so useful in being a prime minister.
And he was also a ski instructor, part-time ski instructor. So the point I'm making is that he didn't have to go out and hustle in order to pay the bills. Doesn't know what that is. Okay, never will. And the only reason, and I know some people, but the big reason why he became prime minister was because his trust fund was going to shit, and they were going to lose it. Okay, so when you become a prime minister, obviously you get some funding for the rest of your life. You basically get a pension plan after 4 years of work, right? So when you look at Justin Trudeau, why is it that he's so out of touch from the common working guy? Because he's never been there. He doesn't know what the struggle is. And when you look at his tax form, right, that he sent out on small businesses, he raped them. He raped small businesses right now. There's no tax credit being a small business owner right now because he doesn't understand what it is. And you could say, well, it's not him directly. No, it kind of is. Him and his minister are the ones who set the precedence of what that tax credit is going to look like. And it's a direct reflection that those two people have never been in a business where your salary is $80,000 a year and no more. They've never seen that. They don't know what it is. And so then that $80,000 business gets pulled back because these morons didn't know what it was to give the tax credit benefits that they were giving previous. And that's what I'm getting at. If you were to take Justin Trudeau and just place him in the ghetto, he's not making it. He's not making it without name influence. There's a Hawthorne quote. Families in America are always rising and falling. And that's what I love about America. Because when you fall, you fall. You still can rise, but you got to get there. And it usually takes 2 generations to feel poverty before they rise again. It's usually not the first generation that lost the riches or squabbled the riches away. It's usually the grandkids from there that make it. Right, and that's where we're at. I mean, on my grandmother's side, I come from French royalty, like real royalty, and that's probably like I'm 4 generations away from that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at. My grandmother's family is the people who came from France to here. They were nobles of the old royalty before Napoleon took over France. Okay, so when they came here, do you think that they knew how to do anything? No, they went and they became weed pickers and seamstresses. That's what they were. And even those skills they didn't know. And so that's what I'm saying is the hustle that's been ingrained in you came from your environment to a large degree.
Yeah.
it didn't come from you just waking up saying, this is what it is. And if you look at my blog yesterday that came out, at the end of it, I said, some people may look at the living quarters that we live in and think that it's less than adequate. For people who are self-starters or people like you and I, this is the fuel that feeds the fire in order to win the next day.
I fucking love looking at my baseboards that are cracked and need to be replaced. I love looking above my stove where there's no hood vent and I need to replace that too because it fucking drives me.
but that's and those are those little things. And I mean, sure, Western world, I mean, somebody from Africa is going to say something completely different than you. Yeah. But we're basing this upon the microism of our social experience of where we're at, right? So it's one of those things where I don't think you could artificially put somebody rich into that. Like, I think you said the Rothschild family. You're talking about the Rothschilds. He used to fuck his kids all the time, like in their own deals. He's like, at least my kids know that I'm not gonna try to fuck them over. And he did that all of the time. So you want to be ruthless. Your kids are ruthless. That was the only way he could make them starve. It was the only way he could make them learn how to be out there hustling. I mean, Donald Trump kind of did it as well with his kids. His kids can hustle, man. And Donald Trump comes from wealth as well. Sure, it's a bit more of a process for them, but they hustle. Like, they actually work their bag off. It's not like, oh, well, I'm Ivanka and blah, 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 blah. It's not that at all. It's, she actually works. And it's not these people who say, I have a project. I don't have a job, I have a project. Well, that's great. I have a fucking hustle. That's what I have. You know what I mean? Like I'm in this bitch, you know, and it's and I'm enjoying the entire thing about it. I guess that's the thing. You have to ask yourself, do you enjoy going to work every day, or would you enjoy the lifestyle that we just presented to you?
Well, like, there's certain things that we don't do every day that the working 9-to-5 person does. You know, we don't pack peanut butter and jam sandwiches to lunch.
That's only because I've been in jail.
We don't drive the exact same route to and from work every day.
Yeah.
We don't see the same faces and have the same conversations. That's and
right.
Watch the same lazy fuckers do the same bullshit every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. The repetition is not in our life.
Not in that sense.
The only thing that's repetitive is I know I will go to the gym. I know that I will pray. And I know that I'm going to be successful by the end of the day.
Yeah.
That is always for sure an inevitability within my day. You know?
Yeah. I know that I'm going to network. I know that I'm going to create something. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm going to produce art. And I know that I'm going to go to sleep grateful.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah. Those are the big changes that come from the old lifestyle, working for somebody, and then all of a sudden becoming a self-starter. Because I really believe that the self-starter is a lifestyle.
It's like being an artist. You know, you're creating something. You're in the act of creating, and you know, I've read before that when you are in the act of creating, you are connected to source. All day long, we fucking create. You know what I mean? Like, whether it's creating content on the podcast, whether I'm creating a release plan for a guy that we're going for bail for while he's in jail, or maybe I'm creating a tattoo for my buddy at night. You know what I mean? We're always creating.
Sitting there writing a blog,
creating.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a nice place to be. I think the other thing too that might be lost on people is that you have to really enjoy starting something from nothing, and it's okay if it gets burnt up before it becomes something. You got to be okay. You have to be honest enough with you. And I think this is where I see a lot of self-starters fail, is their ego gets so big that they're not willing to let it go and say, well, at least I learned a whole bunch of stuff from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't hear that. Like, I don't see that with a lot of bullheaded self-starters, you know?
Yeah, like if you've worked hard at something and you've put in a lot of effort and time and value, and you know, you're not going to get that stuff back, right? And then all of a sudden, like, it fails, or somebody takes it from you, or like, you lose your best contract and your business starts going to shit, that weighs heavily on a person's ego.
Well, and I think that's a big difference too from a drug dealer entrepreneur to somebody who comes from the ghetto and just been trying, because a drug dealer is constantly losing their rags to riches every time they get stopped, pulled over, whatever it is. And somebody who comes from the ghetto that worked really hard for that 500, and I'm just inciting the differences. Somebody who got that $500 and bought into a pitch or whatever it was and then made something out of it, that person, if that business plan fails, they're less likely to let it go. You will notice that drug dealers, when they start seeing things go awry, their issue is that they let it go too quickly and they want on to the next one because they want on to a big bang. They're not sitting there with consistency. Whereas the other person is so consistent, they'll hang on with the ship, drowning with it. Whereas the other guy, it's like there's just a hole and you need a patch. He's already gone. He's in the lifeboat and he's on his way to the fucking shore. He's gone, right? So those are the two dramatic ends that can come out of the ghetto, so I like to say, or people who come from less than privilege, to say, who are those self-starters just by their own environment.
Yeah.
But those are the two differences that I see.
Well, would you say the guy that holds on all the way to the bitter end is more fear-driven or greed-driven?
Well, he's the guy who doesn't believe that he'll come up with another $500 in order to buy another business. Right? So he holds on going, this is the one that's got to make it.
Yeah, I put everything into it.
That's right.
They identify with it.
That's right. As opposed to a drug dealer's like, fuck this. This thing's kind of looking sideways. I'm out. I'm gone.
What? You got $5 cheaper? I'm going with you.
Yeah, exactly. And that mentality of Big Bang, or the mentality of we're going down to the end till I mean, that's how you hear these horror stories of people who buy into businesses and they mortgage their house on a business. They've mortgaged all this stuff. And business is failing. Restaurant, we'll use a restaurant because that's usually the typical one that goes. Restaurant is failing and it's going to shit. And they don't let it go because their mortgage is tied up in that business. And I get it. It's so difficult to not walk away. Because it's your house, it's your home. Now you've lost your business and now you're homeless. It's all in one, right? And so I think that's always an issue. It's really, really difficult. But I would suggest that if you're putting your house up, it shouldn't be your first business move in life. And the reason why I say that is because there are unforeseeable things about your business. If you've never ran a business before, that's going to happen and could dramatically impact your housing.
Well, with the internet these days, a person can have multiple sources of income coming from the internet. You can have drop shipping. You can have a podcast. You can provide counseling services. You can do all these different millions. It's literally limitless different ways that you can generate and create revenue. And if you set up a few small things, that's like your safety net. Yeah. And then, get out there and start up a big one, take that risk. But, you got your safety net still.
I think, you and I talked about how to become a philanthropist in a way that adds value. But you can also add value through your for-profit businesses. There's always a way, and value as in terms of adding to the stream of society, right? That's the big one, I think.
I want to give a shout out here real quick. I got a planner. I looked up these planners online, and it's a high performance planner. And the guy that wrote High Performance Habits, this guy's selling this book.
7 High Performance Habits? Is that what it's called?
No, that's 7 Highly Effective Habits.
Yeah,
that's Steve Covey. This one is Brendan Bouchard. And I just want to shout out, this is crazy. And they highperformanceplanner.com, they have this thing where you can get this planner and then rate yourself at the beginning and you rate yourself at the end, and judging by how good you do in the couple months that this planner is, like you return it for a full refund if your life doesn't get better with this planner. And they have a whole bunch of shit that you got to check it out. High performance planner. Like, this thing is going to take me to my next level in my entrepreneurial life. And I just got it last night and I'm super stoked about it.
That's excellent.
I'll keep you guys posted on how it works for me.
So you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, sure. I'll wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Please subscribe and share it to all your friends. You can find our after the show blog on Life's Terms www.lifeonlifestermspodcast.com. And become a Pride member at your soonest convenience by dropping us your email. Leave it on our website where you leave a comment to us or send us a message. Leave us your email and we will not solicit it or sell it to anybody, no matter what. We're simply keeping it in case we personally, either Justin, myself, or maybe even Chelsea, wants to send you an email and contact you about something.
Or to let you know about upcoming events / content.
Yeah. And if you'd like to become a financial contributor, we do have a Patreon page, www.patreon.com/life on life's terms, with a capital L on life and both times. Contribution as little as $5 a month will make you a patron, and it'll
get those good vibes for life. Foreverness.
Yeah, but this episode went by way too fast.
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
That was way too fast.
Yeah, it was really fast.
Anyways, off to the hustle.
Off to the other stuff. Have a beautiful Friday afternoon.
Yeah, love you.
Bye for now.